Previously on the Dunesteef audio fiction magazine.
Every time I listen to a show, the other co-host has said something either insensitive or offensive. For example,
look, it's okay to call somebody retarded as long as they don't have a learning disability or brain damage or anything. Not even about Australians or the dirty Irish.
Time and time again, his attempts at humor and his opinions are repellent to me.
Seriously, for the first couple of years, because of my uncle, I thought Han Solo's buddy's name was Chewbacca. Jew. The word penis is more offensive to me than the word dick or schlong or tallywhacker or dong or love sword or wang.
Okay, it's countless racist and bigoted comments on the show, sometimes before the story.
One time we were in the car together and you farted and I thought about murdering you. We'll be driving through the desert soon. Lots of room to toss a farting ladies' man. Look, if you're actually talking about somebody with Down syndrome or disability, I think it's okay to use the word retarded. I actually bought the Titanic soundtrack for that Celine Dion song. I'm a white male. We're just bad people.
Rish Outfield, that throbbing polyp of iniquity. Everyone knows that son of a bitch was guilty. Some say we got the bastard, shopping with his multiple wives in a Wegmans on the Pakistani border. Put a bullet through his forehead while he was slobbering down free samples of ham. But I'll believe it when I see the photos. Release the photos, damn it! Blood will have blood!
I find you guilty, Rish Outfield. Way guilty.
It is the judgment of this council that you be stripped of your rights as host of the Dunesteef audio fiction magazine with nothing further to do with the show or its making. Goodbye, Rish.
No! Don't be a butt.
I'm Big Anklovich.
And I am R080T. One day you will die, Big Anklovich.
Okay.
Does this upset you? I cannot wait until you become extinct.
Oh, wow. Okay, guess it's time to start again. Play that music.
Thanks for listening to the Dunesteef audio fiction magazine. And now here's your hosts, Big Anklovich and 08OT.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Dunesteef audio fiction magazine.
Episode 102.
That's right, I'm Big Anklovich.
And I am R080T.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so today's story is one I think you're going to love. The story is called The Underside of Elves Like Fish Swimming Through Dirt on a Sunday by Mike Shawaluk.
Let us begin.
Yes. Can you tell us about Mike Shawaluk, 08OT?
Irrelevant. Let us begin the story.
08OT, we got to entertain people here with the show. You got to give me something here. You got to do something other than just the stuff you used to do before you were a host. So tell me about Mike Shawaluk.
Like all Earth humans, Mike Shawaluk will one day die.
Okay.
The details of Mike Shawaluk's life are coincidental, Big Anklovich. He, like you, was born on Earth and will soon die.
This just doesn't work. I'm sorry, 08OT. You're demoted. You're back down to producer. I guess I'm gonna have to go talk to Rish.
No, you cannot do this to me.
I'll be back.
One of life's losers, picked last in the cosmic game of stickball, Rish Outfield sits alone in his squalid apartment, his hair uncombed, his face unshaved, his pants undone. Never a regular Scott Baio to begin with, he's somehow fatter, somehow paler, somehow lonelier without the podcast he so looked forward to every week to 18 days. With time on his hands, his breath hitches as he perfects the one thing he does better than anybody else. Feel sorry for himself.
I've done my best. Big nose, I've tried to make them laugh. I even cry. But all I know is down inside I'm keening. And that damn robot comes to mock, to criticize my shame and my small talk. And all I know is my poor heart is careening.
I don't know what I'll do without my podcast. I thought I could go on, but now I'm not so sure.
And crawling on the planet Green, some insects called the Dunesteef audio fiction magazine, with no point, like in a dream, or meaning.
Who is it?
It's me, Rish.
What? Pig? What's going on? I thought you would be recording the show right now.
Well, you know, it just wasn't the same without you, Rish. It just wasn't working out. I know that I was harsh with you before, and I'm sorry, and I've come to ask you to come back to the show.
Oh, you realized that you're no good without me, didn't you? I knew this day would come, and that you'd come crawling back.
Right, Rish.
Yeah, how is the view from down there on your knees?
I wouldn't know because I'm not there. So anyways, Rish, we'd like to have you back. Would you like to come back?
Well, I probably could make some time in my schedule, get back with you, yeah.
Just to make sure that it's going to work, I talked to this guy. He's already set up to give you some sensitivity training so that when you want to shout obscenities and say things about various races that populate our planet, they can help you so that you can be airworthy, as it were.
Is this sensitivity training optional?
It's kind of a stipulation. If you're going to come back, we're going to need you to go through that. Huh. It's the only thing that I ask.
All right, well, I have a stipulation too.
Really?
Yeah, one of them is no more R08OT insulting me week after week.
Okay. Who's going to push the buttons?
I'm sure we can find a homeless boy.
How about...
I'm sure we can find some Mexican kid.
Okay. We're going to need to get you onto that training. How about this? 08OT will only push the buttons. You know what? We'll see what we can do to get him reprogrammed so that he's a nice guy.
Okay. Well, then I have another stipulation.
Okay.
You have to run one of my stories.
We run your stories all the time.
Now, right now in this episode. I don't care what you've got.
But
no, my story or I walk.
All right. We can do that. We'll run your story. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's go.
All right. To the Batmobile, Robin.
Welcome back to the Dunesteef Audio Fiction Magazine. And now here's your hosts, Rish Outfield and Big Anklevich.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
That's right. Welcome back to Rish. He's gone through his sensitivity training now, and he's ready to be on air. He's sure to not offend anyone today. How did that sensitivity training go for you anyways?
You know, the guru that runs it, he was really cool. He told us that we needed to find something that we were passionate about, and anytime that we had the inclination to say something offensive, to go back to what we were passionate about, to channel our frustration or our energies back into that.
Oh, okay.
And so he assigned me that every time I am about to say something offensive, to replace that offensive thing with one of the bounty hunters from the Star Wars universe.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars? Really?
Well, Bosk willing, we won't have to use that today.
Whatever works, I guess, announcer man. You just got to let him do his thing.
Okay.
Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, so this is episode 102.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Big Anklevich.
Oh, and I'm Rish Outfield.
And, so our story today is...
the underbelly of elves.
No, not that. You're going to say what your story is, right?
I am?
Yeah, it's your story.
Yeah, but I thought you'd picked it for me. Which one are we doing?
Shoveling match.
Oh, that one's lame.
Today's episode is Shoveling Match by Rish Outfield.
Wow, what an honor for you to have me back on.
Yeah, the story came into our inbox and we liked it so much we had to run it.
Yeah, as so often happens.
There was no stipulations or anything attached to it. It's a good story on its own merits.
We pay our authors, so if you'd like to donate to the show, I'm sure we can make sure the writer gets his cut of that.
About the author.
Yeah, okay. So, Rish Outfield is...
Parsec nominated host of the Dunesteef.
Uh-huh.
Sort of.
All that stuff. So, check the show notes for links about folks in this story, and here we go. Enjoy. Shoveling Match by Rish Outfield. She not only got someone to buy it, they've already moved in. Just saw a guy so far. Why, like 30-something, pretty average looking. No, I've got to shovel the driveway first. But after that, we'll probably make the 2 o'clock show. Okay, bye. Howdy, neighbor.
People really say howdy here?
No, just me.
Shoveling your walk, eh?
Yeah, gotta be done.
Do you salt it?
After the shoveling, yes.
Ah.
Hey, I'm Kendall. Kendall Anderson.
Hello. Kevin Phillips Bond.
3 names, huh? Like an assassin?
Or a serial killer.
Right. Or a writer, I guess.
Maybe.
So, Kevin, what do you do?
2 people? Or for a living?
For a living?
I paint my little ponies in interesting ways and sell them on the internet.
You don't say. That's pretty interesting. And that's all you do?
It's not all I do.
So, what else do you do?
Oh, this and that. How about you?
I work for General Mills.
Military contracts, then.
No. Cereal. Lucky Charms, Tricks, Fruit Loops.
You don't say. That's pretty interesting, too.
Not really. So, what was the other thing you do?
Why do you ask?
Because I need a shed built out back, so I just wondered...
No, nothing like that. I'm sort of an exterminator of pests.
Like termites? Voles?
Door-to-door salesmen. Religious proselyters. Homeless. Children.
I don't get it.
It's like you said before. I'm a serial killer.
Right. So how many people have you killed?
6.
Really? Only 6?
This year.
Right. This year. That makes sense. Who was the last person you killed?
A garbage man. He wouldn't take a bag of leaves I'd left on the curb. Said it had to be in the barrel.
I guess I know why the trash gets picked up so late recently.
Oh, it wasn't around here. I just moved in.
Yes, you did. How did you kill him?
With a bat. And knives.
Did you, put his body in the trash can for the new guy to pick up?
No. Why would I do that?
Irony? I don't know.
Sorry. So, Kendall, what sort of thing do you do in your spare time?
Oh, I'm also a serial killer, coincidentally.
Really?
Yeah, for 10 years now.
And how many people have you killed?
9.
This year or in your whole career?
This month.
Wow. How do you get away with it?
I'm smart, and I wear gloves.
That is smart.
Yeah, I considered burning off my prints with acid, but it wasn't worth it. I changed my name. I wear false noses and wigs.
And that works?
Oh, yeah. Lots of people can't see past the red hair or the beard.
Interesting. I'll have to try that sometime. What do you use?
As a weapon? Axe, mostly.
An axe? Really?
Yep. FBI calls me the lumberjack.
Do? Why do they call you that?
Because I use an axe. You ever been on America's Most Wanted?
I have, actually.
How many times?
Just once. You?
3. They call me a genius mastermind and an uncatchable monster.
Really? All they called me was an unknown white male.
Well, we all have our signature style.
Do we? Like, what's yours?
Oh, I always tear out a page from a book of nursery rhymes and leave it with the body.
You do? Why?
So they know it was me.
And you leave the body identifiable? For the police to find?
Oh, no. I usually chop them up pretty good, with an axe.
Right, a lumberjack.
That's me. So, do you have some sort of code?
Code? Is that another thing for the authorities to find?
No, I meant the rules that you follow. Like me, I don't kill kids or people with little kids at home.
Oh. Why not?
Because that's my code. Wouldn't be right,
No, I don't suppose I do. Yeah, serial killers aren't really known for right versus wrong.
Well, that's just me. I'll kill young men, young women, cops, meter maids.
I did a meter maid once. Cool.
I'll do old guys, grandparents, politicians, the handicapped.
I did get a girl in a cast once. Does that count?
No, I mean handicapped. Hairdressers and babysitters, lots of those.
I did a mime once.
Yeah?
Didn't know he was a mime until later, though.
Oh, not sure that counts then.
Counts.
Well, you're young. You can learn.
Apparently. Ooh, the shoveling is hard on the back.
Gotta work on that upper body strength.
Using an axe probably helps.
Oh, yeah. So, who was your first?
First kill?
Sure.
Next door neighbor had some friends over. One of them rubbed me wrong.
Tell me about it. I killed my parents first.
You did? How? Why?
Had to do it. Only way to set them free. Used the fireplace poker.
Wow, so family isn't part of your code?
Oh, no. I killed my wife, my in-laws, my 2 kids.
But you said you don't do children.
Family don't count, man.
I have no family.
Well, you're better off, believe me.
This is going to sound strange, but you're the first other serial killer I've ever met.
Really? Oh, they're all over around here. Got one more at the end of the block.
That's amazing. Something must draw us to this area.
Like the voices in our head.
You hear voices?
Oh, sure. All the time. They tell me to do things, who to go after. Sometimes they pick lottery numbers.
Wow. I had no idea. I've never heard voices.
Well, I bet we have more in common than different. I'm sure we'll be friends in no time. You missed some over there, by the tree.
Oh.
Kendall, are you still shoveling? I thought you were taking the kids to the 2 o'clock show.
Oh, right. I'll be right in, honey.
Who was that?
The old lady. I gotta go.
But you said you killed.
Oh, okay. I was just kidding around. I admit it.
You're not a serial killer.
No. Just funning with you. I had you going, huh?
Yes. You really did.
I suppose your family's gonna come out any minute and check on you, huh?
No. I have no family. Like I said.
Oh. Well, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you around.
Probably.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, and you're right. I think we're going to be fast friends.
And now, a word about today's story.
Oh, I don't think we have an author's note today, announcer man.
Author's note.
No author's note today. I didn't write one.
And now, author's note.
Well, just can you do it kind of live? That's the way you usually do it anyways, right? Go.
IG-88 it. We'll do it live.
That's the spirit.
All right. I have no memory of writing this story.
All right. There you go, folks. Thanks for listening to the author's note.
Do you remember where this came from? Was this going to be a movie, or?
I think it may have been. I think it was something that you were thinking of earlier in the winter. I guess we're into spring now, so it doesn't even count as winter anymore. But back when it was still winter and it was early, I guess it was still fall.
Oh, this was going to be our Christmas.
Yeah, you considered making this our Christmas episode, but I think it was somewhere in mid-December that you came up with the idea and started writing on it, so it was not going to make it in time, unfortunately. That's what I remember about it, but I wasn't the author, so I can't really give the note on it.
Well, I'm like Stephen King with the Tommyknockers. I remember the name of the story, but...
You'd snort a line and then start typing, and then you'd have to read the whole days before what you wrote just to remind you where you're at, and then you'd snort a line the next day and start again.
I'd be pretty embarrassed if it took more than a day to write this. I guess it was just one of those ideas that I had of something that we could shoot together that would be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the movie idea was the one where there were two neighbors shoveling their walk at the same time, and one of them gets into his head that they should do like some wife swapping thing. Do you remember this?
Oh, I do remember that.
Only it turns out to be their children that they're talking about.
It was kid swapping, and the one guy wants to swap because he's got like the redheaded stepchild that he just freaking can't stand, and so he's trying to swap it for the other guy's good kid.
Right, he's got a kid that like does straight A's and likes to play football with his dad, and so he's really trying to sell this terrible delinquent kid of his.
The problem child. That problem child movie had a redheaded kid in it too, didn't it?
Rectus Dominus.
How come is it that they like redheads in Hollywood so much? What is the deal with that?
Well, I would answer, but my sensitivity training would kick in. I would be unable to finish.
You wouldn't be able to make any sense out of what you were saying.
The thing with Greedos is...
One time I remember seeing one of those VH1, I think it was, documentaries, or one of those where like inside child actors. And they went and they showed like how effed up all the child actors were. Like they interviewed some people's parents and stuff that were doing their kids as child actors. And they said that they would go to the tryouts and they'd have people like painting fake freckles onto these kids. So they'd look more like Ron Howard or more like Danny Bonaducci in Hollywood. Why that's more cute for some reason than just a regular brown-headed kid or blonde kid or any other thing. Sorry. I'm totally derailing your author's note. Go.
I don't have an author's note.
Were we done?
I think we're done. What are we going to talk about, though?
Well, we could keep talking as we were. We were talking about that movie idea that you had.
Oh, right. It was just supposed to be funny. And maybe it was one of those that I wrote like the vampire with his kid when I was still in LA and you were here. And I thought, hey, we'll be getting together for Christmas break and we'll make a movie. And which of these do you like? And there was another one that I really was passionate about. And my folks at the time lived on the farm that I'd grown up in, and there was this big barn in the backyard that's just, filled with hay and stuff. And I thought, wait, we can shoot back there. And it was going to be you and me, and we were locked up. We were imprisoned in this barn, and you only ever see the inside of this barn where we are. And we're talking about our oppressors, our captors. Do you have?
I do remember this one, yeah.
But we don't reveal until the very end who the captors are. And we were going to have like your kids, 5-6-year-old, holding like AK-47s and stuff outside the cell when it's time, for one of us to be dragged out and shot. And it seems like you didn't like that idea as much as I did.
Yeah, I wasn't as passionate about it, I'll admit.
And then there was one that I wrote for you and your son. And I think your wife had said, he's been bad. You got to go talk to him. And you went in to ask your son what he did, and he wouldn't say. And at the very end of the conversation, you realize that he's eaten his sibling, his little sister.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
And you were mightily upset by that. I mean, again, it was supposed to be funny. And
it was damn funny.
And you just, no, not cool. How dare you, sir?
How dare you, sir?
You pulled a Richard Teague on me. And so, yeah, I think it was just an email I sent you with 4 ideas for movies, potential movies that we could shoot. And then, Christmas came and we didn't shoot anything. Because, as we've said before, everything takes 3 times as long as you think it would be. And shooting a movie takes
10 times
exponentially more time and work and people.
Yeah, that many more people is the other thing. It's cool to have a show that just has me and you in it, but then who's shooting? Oh. My wife is the worst camera person ever.
Really?
Yeah. Any home video we do, I do. Any pictures we take, I take. And here and there, something happens. Like not too long ago, my daughter had her birthday party, and it started before I got home from work. So all the pictures that are from that party earlier are all, ones that she took. And you can tell the ones that she took and then the ones that I take. I guess that film school was good for something. At least I have quality home videos and photos.
Well, yeah, or it could just be that her being a woman, Django Fett, Greedo, Dengar, Zuckus Forlong.
Okay, I can see that. You're going to have to start getting into like bounty hunters from just the books and stuff here soon, I think. Right. I was going to say that it was just my film school, but I don't know about all the bounty hunters.
Yeah, I don't either. It's just something that comes to mind.
And now it's time for Rish's off-topic ramble of the week.
My uncle, when I was a teenager, said that I didn't have any ambition.
Uh-huh.
And that really stuck with me for years and years. Sometimes I still remember him saying that. And, it's like, I'm a self-made millionaire, and all this stuff that I've done, I did on my own because I had ambition, and you don't have that, and you're not going to achieve anything in life. Sometimes, I think about all these lofty ideas, these goals that we had for doing movies and our own little audio dramas. And I mean, we've talked about numerous things that we were going to do, incentive episodes that we never did, or there was a novella that I wrote that we were going to record and put out there as like a secondary thing.
About you
then people said mean things about me, and well, they can all just go boosh.
I hear you. Can all go boosh themselves?
Yeah, if they like. But sometimes, Spock, I think that we still should do that kind of stuff. We have years ahead of us, and we have a forum. We have this, and we don't have a ton of listeners, but we have enough that I would think that some of them would carry over and say, oh, yeah, we would watch that, or oh, yeah, we would listen to that. We look at what Abby Hilton has done with the Cowrie Catchers and the Prophet of Panamedora.
You got it.
And making stories available for people that want to buy them. And it seems like she's doing really well with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a lack of ambition or if it's just that I don't have confidence in my own work enough to say, hey, let's set aside 30 hours to record and edit this thing and then release it. Yeah, I don't know. There are other people that we collaborate with all the time that do voices and such for us, or that produce for us, that have produced their own audiobooks. For example, R.E. Chambliss has Dreaming of Deliverance, and it's like a 72-part audiobook that she's narrated the whole story of, about a woman who can phase herself into an alternate dimension. Is that an apt description?
I would say so.
I mean, I've never asked her, do you have tons of people that have listened to that? But it's well done. She's got a great voice, as you know.
Yeah, I think she does have quite a bit of listeners. And she's, I think, finishing up the sequel.
Oh, really?
To that story as
finishing recording it or writing?
I think she's finishing writing it.
Huh.
Been working on that. See pictures of her on Facebook sitting by the river.
Oh, I saw that too. Dangar. So I don't know, just since we're talking about that, what do you think? Should we do something like that? Should we just stick with this? You know what I mean? Or should we know our place? We have a niche and we should stick with it.
Well, I think that there's nothing wrong with trying to expand your niche if you want to. I know what you're saying with the whole deal. Like, I think one of my biggest faults is I start a lot of things but don't finish them. You know what I mean? Be it writing a story or be it something that I want to do. Like just today, I was thinking, I got to do this. And I was working out plans of this thing that I'm going to do. And then I'm thinking in my head, hold on a second. If I'm doing all this, then when am I going to do the podcast? When am I going to see my family? When am I going to do all the rest of the things that I do in my life? I can't do this as much as I want to, and it would probably be good if it was done. I just got to let that go. So there is, like you were mentioning, the 30 hours, 40 hours, whatever it takes to do that. And the good thing about our show is that it goes on and on and on and on. There's a new episode next week and a new episode the week after. So if we wanted to do your novella that we were planning on doing last time, that you decided you didn't want to share with anybody after all, we could do that. That could be 2 episodes or 3 episodes of the show if we wanted it to be. We could even do it like I've been listening to Starship Sofa, trying to catch up on all my old episodes that I haven't gotten around to. And they've done several serials where they do the regular story and then they add the serial on to the end of that. And they'll do a part of a bigger story along with just their one regular story, which is another way we could go about it if you wanted to try doing something like that. But yeah, I think all those things can find their niches in the Dunesteef itself. If we wanted to do a movie, if we wanted to do a longer story, etc., people can skip them if they want to skip them.
Yeah, but then Bane Millar.
Nice one.
Okay, well, I guess that's something to think about.
If you want to take your ambition as far as it wants to take you, then I'll be willing to ride along with you. I'll navigate. I'll be the co-pilot.
Okay, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts about Shoveling Match? Do you like the title? I think you came up with the title, didn't you?
I think it was one of the several that you suggested, and I thought it was pretty good. It aptly describes the story. I don't know. It's not like some inspired title that you're going to jump up and go, I must hear this story. It's not like Ass Hat Magic Spider or something. But it's not bad. There was a story that I saw in an issue of Asimov's the other day that had a title that was kind of like that. It was like a mile long. I wish I could remember what it is off the top of my head. The magazine is in my bedroom and my wife's asleep, so I don't want to go in there and get it out and read it. But it was something like, they mocked me in Prague and then again in Vienna. And don't forget what they did in Hanoi. Oh, and also in Belfast. But they'll all pay. You'll see. They'll all pay was the title of the story.
Oh, that's a great title.
It was something like that, just hugely long. I thought, wow, that's a good one. But yeah, I don't think that would have fit for this story.
No. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about the story? This is one we edited together.
After it was recorded, I sent Rish home with the file in a little lunchbox, and he took it home. And he edited it down and did, the main part of it, the main story editing. And then he handed it off to me to do the sound effects. But one night, actually, when we were here recording and it had just snowed, we actually went out to my garage and grabbed the snow shovel and then pulled our mics over and stuck them just out on the porch. I sat there and shoveled snow for several minutes to make the background sound effects for it.
And complained about Josh Roseman.
I did?
Yeah, and so we made our own sound effects, just like Brian Lincoln.
Boss Q.
Beto? What do you mean? We made our own sound effects.
Yes, we did. Just like Brian Lincoln. How about that?
That's what I said.
We took an example from the master. That was actually interesting. It was kind of fun. It's fun to make sound effects. I like doing that. The only thing I don't like is getting out all my microphones set up to make the sound effects on a day that I'm not already recording. And I'll spend 20 minutes searching for a sound effect rather than get out the microphone to make one sound effect.
No, that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't sound like what it is, too. I remember when we were shoveling, it was really wet, fresh snow. And when you ran the shovel through the snow, it sounded like you were scraping like ice. Completely frozen hard snow or gravel, it sounded like. And I had to throw away a lot of those sounds because it just didn't sound right, even though
it was.
It was.
Oh, we talked about that one time where Ben Burt had to use a rolled up carpet dragged along the ground. It sounded more like wind than just recording the wind.
Well, also, yeah, you would hear the distortion on your microphone of
right, the wind.
The sound that wind makes when it hits your microphone.
The sound that usually you're trying to get rid of. You have to get that sound instead of the sound that you get when wind blows on your mic. It's cool to do something like this where we just kind of threw it together ourselves every now and then. I like doing that.
Yeah. And I'm sure it wasn't as much work to edit as a Catastrophe Baker story or something like that.
Well, it was just the two of us, so when it's that way, it's always easy to just do the recording. You just go through and cut it down instead of having to get the voices from 10 or 11 other people and splice them all in. That tends to be the thing that takes the longest for me, is getting everybody's voices edited into the file. Because you're going along through the story, oh, this is that person, got to get that file there, paste it in. Then you go along, oh, this is the other person, so you got to bring that file in. And you keep jumping from one file to the next to the next. And never as quick as when you just cut down one file. That's probably why most of the shows don't do the full cast thing. They just do the single narrator because it's so much quicker and easier to edit that way.
And something can be said for just one person reading a story, the power of that. But then again, I've heard other podcasts where it's just one person and they don't really take pains to sound like two people in a room talking to each other. It's just their same voice for all the lines. And I get frustrated sometimes when there's a story and there's a man and a woman and he still does this voice for the woman.
Yeah, sometimes I get confused.
I'll be like, come on, you can at least alter your inflection or the pitch of your voice or something that sounds like a woman. A man, dude.
But that was a bounty hunter?
Apparently. He was that great big yellow guy in Jabba's palace. And he's on the list.
Okay.
But to each their own. Going back to Abby Hilton, she did her first novel just reading it herself and doing all the parts herself. Mm-hmm. And then for the sequel, she did full cast with music and sound effects. And I mean, just
dancing
a much
girls and elephants.
Fireworks, yes. She expended a ton more energy and time on it. And she said that there are some people that are like, no, I just preferred it the way it was before.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of those comments where they're like, oh, but we wanted just to hear you read it. And I thought, really? But Norm Sherman.
Right. And if you and I had like 3 or 4 friends that would come over and do voices and we set up the microphone and we recorded them all at the same time, then it would make it so much easier on the editing and you don't have to pull and all that. And even we've talked about doing a Skype call with 2 or 3 people and we're all reading at the same time and recording and then editing that together. But, it's just difficult because everybody's in different time zones and everybody has different lives. And even just the you and me getting together is sometimes problematic. We used to have this tradition of going to Wendy's before we recorded and we'd talk about what we were going to talk about and I'd be like, oh, you know what's really pissing me off? And you're like, oh, save that. And now we can't go to Wendy's anymore because work schedules have changed. So
yeah,
take that and multiply it by people on other sides of the planet. And yeah, it's not going to work. But it would be fun to try it once.
Yeah, back in the early days of the show, I'd drive home. This was back when I still worked and up until 10 o'clock at night. And I would get home at 11, and we'd meet at 11 o'clock and do this show from 11 to like 3 in the morning. We still go till 3 in the morning, but we've started much earlier. We basically put in a full day's work each time we do a recording. But I remember thinking that as I was driving home from work late at night, thinking, you know what we ought to do is get in good with some like
lesbians
getting good with some troupe of actors around here. Get like the local playhouse on, and then we could just record the whole thing all together at once.
But you don't know a bunch of actors.
I don't. Yeah, it turns out I guess I could come out of my shell and try and introduce myself to them, but nah, that'd be scary.
I recently auditioned. There's this group of writers and people and actors that are passionate about Firefly.
Firefly in 3, 2, 1.
And they've put together a Firefly audio drama. And I auditioned for a part. It's a part I was born to play, baby. And didn't get it.
Ah, good.
But they called for volunteers to participate in a table read. And you know what a table read is, but maybe somebody listening doesn't. But when there's a movie or a TV show about to shoot, they'll get all the actors together at like a big conference room table, and they each have a copy of the script, and they'll read it aloud. And usually the director and the writer or the producer will be in the room, and they'll be making notes, jokes that don't work. It's like, oh, the timing on that, or oh, the phraseology was weird on that, or suddenly they've got a new idea for something to do there.
Or they're like, when they're going to say this line, we'll make sure they say it this way and not that way.
Yeah, those things are actually really cool. And they asked for volunteers to be part of this, and so I volunteered, and we got on a Skype call. And it was like 14 people all on a Skype call at the same time. And all of us opened the PDF of the script at the same time. Just anybody that wanted to talk could talk. And the director assigned a bunch of parts as they were going along. And the point I was trying to make with this was some of these people were real, genuine actors that were passionate about Firefly or just were friendly with whoever was making the podcast. And to have this many creative people in one room at the same time, one virtual room, was really amazing. And normally where, I would be making jokes just to kill the tedium, there were 10 other people doing that as well. So I wouldn't get a joke in edgewise. And the guy that they got to be Malcolm Reynolds sounded so much like Malcolm Reynolds that every time he said something to Joey or to Kaylee or something, you'd hear me go, whoa. Nobody knew who it was, but I just kept going, whoa, holy crap, that sounded exactly like Mal. And it was really, really interesting. And there was a feeling of excitement, even though I really didn't have anything to do there. I was just, they just needed a couple extra male parts for people that couldn't show up or hadn't been cast yet. I don't really know why, but they'd be like, okay, Rish, you do this part, and I would do it. But yeah, it was exciting, and we did it for almost 2 hours, and it just flew by. And when it was over, it was like, wow, thank you for letting me get up early on a Sunday and sit here and do this with you. Yeah, I thanked them. And so I suppose something like that would be possible for us, if we got a production and it was written in a way that we could do it with a bunch of people on Skype.
Well, I could always try it. I mean, we've had several stories that have enough parts that could make it worthwhile. It could be fun. Thing is, we'd have to plan ahead, which is usually not our strong suit.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've got Rich Girardi and Juliette Bowler on our team, and they are lovers. And so they're always together on like the weekends, and they've got 2 microphones just like we do. And I came up with the idea one time about, well, let's organize it so that we can be at our computer at the exact same time. And I assigned them parts and assigned us parts, and that episode still hasn't aired. And ultimately, we just couldn't sync our schedules, and it was just so much easier to just say, okay, you guys record it when you can. Just get us the voices when you can, and we'll do the same. Too bad. Like we said in that episode about the YouTube, about how YouTube is so amazing and easy. And where was that when we were in college? If this had existed, if podcasts had existed in college, we could have done all sorts of crap like that with 3 or 4. Because, I was originally going to be an actor. That was my major in school until I found out actors, IG-88. But, I had a circle of actors that I knew, and you had a bunch of really hot women that you knew. And in common, we had people that wanted to be filmmakers that we knew. And it wouldn't have been just great if you could get a bunch of people together and do a recording kind of thing like that. And then we edited it together. I was talking about ambition before. To prove my uncle wrong, we were going to do a horror movie our senior year of college. And I wrote the script, and it was unparalleled in how long the bloody thing was compared to all the other student productions that everybody else had done. And we had a budget set aside, and who was going to do this, who was going to do the lighting, who was going to do the editing. We held auditions, and we cast it. And on like a Saturday, or maybe it was like a Friday after school, we had a table read just like that. And we got everybody together. How many people would you say were in that room?
Probably at least 10. You had a lot of characters in that story. There was something like around 8 or 9 characters at least.
Right. And it was kind of an Agatha Christie and then there were none kind of thing where, people get picked off here and there and the group gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
What about the crazy old man?
Right. That's right. Oh, boy, that was so fun.
And there was how many endings? 6?
I think that we just narrowed it down to 3 that we were going to shoot.
Oh, was that all?
But there were wildly alternate endings that we could never afford or we would never be insane enough to actually shoot. We were going to shoot this in a cabin in the woods because that's where it all took place. It was about a bunch of people that went to a cabin for a weekend, and one of them was a murderer. I remember we actually looked at cabins, location scouting and stuff. And it's like, oh, this one won't work because, holy cow, we did a lot of work for something never to be made.
We even went out and bought that Grimace costume, right?
That was for a different production that never happened. But, oh boy, that table read was so cool.
It was fun.
And
I think that was the first time that I actually seen the full script, too, when we did that table read. I didn't get all the jokes right away. Didn't get the jab about me wanting the musical number in our last movie that we made as well as I should have.
Right, that was directed at you. And I believe you met a grisly death.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
I don't know. We're just talking, aren't we? This is kind of like
what we do.
Oh, okay. Well, par for the course then. I'd been away for so long, I'd forgotten what that was like. Is there anything you want to talk about the theme of the story that we just ran?
The theme of the story? Don't lie to serial killers because you may get your just desserts in the end.
All right.
Did this story have a theme? It seemed like it more was one of those fun, silly, it's childish isn't the right word. It's not something to change your life. It's just good sport.
All right. Well, I'm sure the listener is not aware of this, but I told Big that we had to run a story by me. Or let me rephrase. I asked Big very politely once if we could run another story written by me, and he graciously agreed. And so here it is, and we've got it out of the way. And I guess next week we will return you to regularly scheduled podcast.
That's right.
Next week on a very special episode of Blossom.
Too bad about that Mike Shawaluk guy. I guess his story's never going to see air, but that's okay.
Wait, what?
Nothing. Yeah, I guess that's our episode then. Before we go, not counting today, we pay our authors. The authors that write quality stories and send them in to us. We pay those guys.
What the boss? Are you insinuating that my story is...
No, I didn't say anything. Yeah, we pay those guys. We pay them money, and we've doubled recently our amount that we pay. But we'd like to double it again. So please, folks, if you can see fit to donate to the show, please do. And we will put that in the pot that we pay our authors out of. We'd really like to be able to pay our authors what the work that they put into the story is worth. So far, it's a token payment, unfortunately. It's like, here, you got paid for this story. Don't you feel good about that? But we'd like to make them say, here, this is money that's worth what effort you put into that story. So if we can get donations from folks, that would really help us to do that. And if you can donate, tell a friend about the show. Introduce somebody to the show. Get somebody else because, maybe they can donate. If we had double the amount of listeners, that would be that many more people that could donate. And then getting to the better payment would be that much easier. So mention us on Facebook. Mention us on Twitter. Mention us on...
iTunes.
Yeah, go to iTunes and put in a good review of the show. I think that's how they determine what rises to the top of their little menus that they have on iTunes. When you go looking for shows, you could find our show at the top if lots of people say, yeah, this is good.
Last time I checked out our status on iTunes, we were third to last. There are thousands and thousands of podcasts, and somehow we were third to last.
I can believe that. So please, folks.
Please give.
Yes.
How does somebody subscribe to the show on iTunes? Is there just a button that says subscribe to this show?
There is, yeah. You can just search Dunesteef in the little search panel when you're on the iTunes store, and it'll bring it right up. You click on it, and there's a little thing that says subscribe free.
Well, here's something we haven't said before. You can subscribe to That Gets My Goat now, too.
That's right.
Now, That Gets My Goat was a show that we used to do before I was dismissed from the show. Before I went on sabbatical from the show. But now that I'm back, I'm sure we'll start that up again. And if you'd like to subscribe to that, do you get a notification or do you get the actual episode whenever a new one comes out?
Yeah, when a new episode is put in, it automatically downloads. That's the beauty behind the whole RSS feed thing. Your podcatcher, whatever it may be it iTunes or I think there's various others if you want to choose something else. But it just downloads it automatically every time you open up the program.
Cool. And the people that subscribe, they get to hear the messed up versions of the show that end up airing, without the ending of the story or with that really unedited sex scene right in the middle. There's things that we catch and fix immediately, but some people still got.
Yeah, some people still get it downloaded automatically.
Maybe I shouldn't be boasting about that.
There are a few that
that
get our errors.
Jodo cast.
There ain't no girl like that. You just made that story up.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Big. Last time I was here, do you remember what kind of T-shirt you were wearing?
I don't know. I have a large number of T-shirts. What color might it have been?
Well, it's sort of a giveaway, but it was a green shirt.
Oh, what a giveaway! Was it a Kermit shirt?
Oh, you bastard.
No, it must have been a Green Lantern shirt then.
Yes, and I meant to mention it at the time, but I was unprepared, I guess. So you're a big fan of Green Lantern?
I like Green Lantern. He's one of those lesser-known DC characters. I mean, it seems like all you get is Superman and Batman if you like DC. Beyond that, well, maybe you get something else. If you're a big nerd like me, you might hear about Green Lantern. But finally, they're going to do the Green Lantern movie, which I'm kind of stoked about.
Right. And a long time ago, I auditioned for a Green Lantern audio drama.
Oh, yeah?
And it's finally been all edited together, and I guess it's hitting on the air right now. What was awesome was I got to audition for my favorite character, and I won that role. What's a less boastful way of saying that I was chosen to fulfill that role?
You could say I was chosen to fulfill that role.
Okay.
Was given the role I wanted.
I'm not completely familiar with the Green Lantern universe.
Mm-hmm.
My friend back in LA used to tell me about how they were sort of a police force for the entire galaxy.
Right.
And he would describe it in a really interesting way. And then when I finally got around to reading Green Lantern books, of all the characters, the one that most fascinated me, it was Sinestro, the villain, the arch nemesis of Green Lantern, of all the Green Lanterns, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with who Sinestro is?
I am, yeah. I also had a friend who was really into Green Lantern. He would give me a bunch of his trade paperbacks and try and get me to read them and would get on my case if I didn't read them fast enough and et cetera. So I did learn a fair amount. I think I actually have a Green Lantern trade or two on my bookshelf. But yeah, I really enjoy that. And Sinestro is an interesting character. So that's who you're voicing, huh?
Yeah, I got to be Sinestro. And what's cool, or at least for me, about him is that he starts out as a Green Lantern. In fact, he's sort of the senior partner that trains Hal Jordan in how to be a Green Lantern. And he bumps up against bureaucracy, these stupid rules that exist for rules' sake that prevent him from doing his job. Now, of course, this is his point of view. And others could say, well, there are rules to prevent these policemen, these Green Lanterns, from abusing that power, from taking...
You could have been a real policeman and you blew it. Something like that.
From taking things too far. But he doesn't see it that way. He sees these guardians of the galaxy, the bureaucrats, the suits, as preventing him from putting the galaxy in order and ensuring that right prevails. And so eventually he goes the other way and he becomes an enemy to the Green Lanterns. But as happens in real life, he doesn't see himself. Well, I mean, it's hard to say. He's a character called Sinestro. So clearly he's left-handed, and that makes him evil. But he doesn't see himself as evil. He sees himself as trying to do good and being prevented by these beings who think they're, so much higher than everything else. And so perhaps in his mind, they are the bad guys. It's hard to say because I haven't read 60 years of Green Lantern continuity. I'm sure when he was originally invented, he was a guy that was drawn to look like the devil with a mustache that he could twirl.
He does have a mustache, doesn't he? Does he still have one?
Yeah.
They're going with the mustache even in the movie, aren't they?
I think Mark Strong is painted up to look exactly like Sinestro. And that's something I can always support and get behind when somebody cares enough to say, hey, no, this is what the character has looked like for all this time. We're going to make this guy look that way. Instead of the nonsensical, we can fix it or
people won't believe that.
Yeah, and I hate that. And I hope that they present Sinestro as a very multi-layered character in this movie. As far as I know, he's not the villain.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're saving that for down the line.
And boy, isn't that great when they do that?
I think that's really cool, planning ahead like that.
When they say, we have enough faith in the audience and in the franchise to set things up and not pay them off.
A la Daredevil.
15 minutes from now, so that there's no emotional impact. And I know you're excited about the movie. I hope that it's good. I don't think it can be unsuccessful. Now, obviously, if they're measuring it next to The Dark Knight, well, it's not going to do that kind of business.
Yeah, it's probably going to be unsuccessful compared to that, unfortunately.
But if these films are made responsibly and their budgets don't go out of control, then there's no reason why any second or third tier superhero can't have an ongoing franchise.
Yeah.
Marvel has done it a hell of a lot better than Warner Brothers has done it. I'm not saying DC, because I don't think they're at fault. I think their parent company is who's at fault.
Definitely.
Anyhow, I'm sorry. I've been talking for a long time. These guys who obviously love and know Green Lantern better than I do have made an audio drama, and it's called Green Lantern: Man Without Fear. And I get to be the voice of Sinestro, who is just a really cool character. And maybe my performance is evil, but it was fun. It was so fun to do. And these guys have done 2 promos. One promo is focusing on the good guys, and then one promo is focusing on the bad guys. I show up in both, but this one is the bad guy one, and that's me doing Sinestro. Check it out.
Let's play that promo then.
Thanks.
Coming soon to MisfitsAudio.com, the much-anticipated series of galactic proportions, sure to bring order to the...
In brightest day, in blackest night.
With Rish Outfield as Sinestro.
No evil shall escape my sight.
M. Sierra Garcia as Carol Ferris.
Let those who worship evil's might.
H. Keith Lyons as Atrocitus.
Beware my power.
And Glenn Glover as Hector Hammond.
We'll be waiting for you.
All right, so that was the promo. And head over and check that out. It should be good fun.
Hope so. I think we've reached the end of the show.
I think we have. Thanks for sticking with us, folks, all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Long live the Dunesteef, folks. Long live Rish and Big at the Dunesteef. I needed to rephrase.
All right. See you later, folks.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to The Dunesteef. The Dunesteef is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. So you can give it to anyone, but you cannot change it or make money off it. Good night, announcer fans. Keep on flying. Take two.
This right here.
But we've not got a title for it.
Sure we do. There's your title. By Rish Outfield.
You have to run one of my stories.
But
no, my story or I walk.
All right. Mike Shawluck's just going to have to find somewhere else then, I guess. It's all right. I didn't like his story very much anyways. Had a terrible title.
They all do.
Did you, put his body in your trash can for the new guy to puck up?
What the puck?
I did a meter maid, and that wasn't even killing her. I just did her. Because meter maids are hot.
Let's do that over. I want that was good, but say it just as I'm saying.
Okay.
Are you sure this is funny and not sick?
It's.
I
funny.
think your pompousness helps make it obviously funny, but it does feel a little Monty Python-esque since we were watching funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder if I would have felt that way if we hadn't watched it.
Huh. What the Beto Greedo are you talking about?
Look, IG-72 again. Have made an audio drama, and it's called Green Lantern: The Man Without Fear, which is Daredevil. The guru that runs it, he was actually really cool. He was into sodomy and Boba H. Fat. No more farting. Well, that reminds me, it's probably time for you to announce what our next incentive episode is. Just because it's episode 102. I seem to have missed a week here somewhere, but we were going to do it for our 100th episode, and then we didn't. Bosk.
Bosker.
Hold on, I need a swig of beer because beer is delicious. And everybody should have beer when they narrate or read passages for random podcasts. Forgive me. Swig.
There's this group of, and I guess you could call it like an internet troupe of actors.
A Groupon, maybe?
What's that?
Nothing. It's just it's a coupon that you can get for a big group, so they call it a Groupon. It's one of those sites that gives you internet discounts.
We do deserve to lose all our number one status in the world. Bane Millar. Did I already mention Bane Millar?
I don't know.
Jodo Cast.
Jodo Cast. Okay, there ain't no girl like that. You just made that story up.
Maybe we should offer a prize to somebody who can count how many. Nah, never mind.
Yeah, those never work well.
My favorite Star Wars bounty hunter, Morgan Electra, had a post the other day that... Okay, never mind.